Will we
Yep.
be in a better or in a worse place than we are now?
First of all, seed investors are optimists, I think, right? And I'm a founder, and founders are optimists. But I'm based on all the downturns I've been in, the 2016 flash crash, which we don't talk about enough in SaaS because it was terrible when multiples fell to 2x, 3x, from the global meltdown in 2008 to 2009. I have learned again and again that things are brutal. They seem to move in slow motion, and then they come back pretty fast, and they're never quite as bad as we thought. So I find it very difficult to believe that when we see Okta growing 40% at 2 billion, okay, when we see the type of growth we see out there, that we will have these multiples when the Fed gets through whatever the hell it's going to do, and when we get on the other side of this, I just don't believe that we will have multiples that are just this low in the public market. Now, I'm not a DCF guy, and I'm not going to talk to you about free cash flows in 2084. Okay, I'm just a meat and potato SaaS guy, but I've never seen multiples this low when businesses were this good. Okay, I've only seen multiples this low when businesses were struggling or shrinking, like in 2016 when literally they were shrinking. And so I'm pretty bullish at the end of this year. I'm bullish that multiples will be up somewhere between 20 and 40%. And I believe that will lead to a rush to deploy capital. But for founders, you have to understand that will never lead to a return of 2021. Never. Never. We'll be through. Buyers will be back. CIOs are still increasing spend next year. We're going to get through a lot of things. Things will be at the end of the year, but we will never, for founders that have only been in market or founders for 3 or 4 years, realize that you lived in insane times. They will be better at the end of this year than the start, but the world will never work the way it worked before. It can't. We can't have 80x ARR public company multiples. They're not coming back. We're not going to see Zoom go from 1 to 4 billion in 1 year ever again. Like this was a generational thing for us, right? It's not going to happen again.
I just laugh when I see some GPs we both know who became a GP in 2010 and stopped in 2020, and you're like, the perfect 10 years. 10 years.
The perfect 10 years. Yeah.
Okay, what are you
The one thing I would end up to finalize that and I think you would agree with me. I think if founders are listening and have gotten this far, there's a lot of advice, which is wait till the markets thaw, right? It's not that simple, man. They're not coming back. They're not bouncing back to 2021. They're not bouncing back to good times. They're just going to get like a little bit better. But there's no thaw. If you can't raise any money at all today, like if you're unfundable, I don't think you're going to be fundable at the end of the year. Okay. If you're fundable today, but you don't like the metrics, you don't like the valuation, you double the end of this year and you see some multiple recovery, you're going to be pretty happy at the end of the year, right? But if you're unfundable today, you're going to be unfundable even in a recovery. Do not wait for this magic moment when, air quotes, the markets recover, because it doesn't exactly work that way, right? The bar is going to remain high to be fundable for a very long period of time, especially Series B, A, and B, and later. It's going to remain very high.
Jason, what have you changed your mind about in the past 24 months?
I don't have the answer to the question. I'll tell you why. Maybe we could end on this. I've spent the last 24 months relearning the unicorn lessons. Relearning that companies I thought would never be unicorns became unicorns. That sociopath CEOs became unicorns. That bullshit artists became unicorns. That folks that did not have an extremely strong understanding of the market became unicorns. And I felt like an idiot, as many of us did, right? I felt like an idiot not investing in a bunch of these companies where I couldn't see it. I couldn't see that they would become a unicorn. So now I'm relearning this lesson. And I think the lesson I'm learning is, no cut corners, and that, the bar is just insanely high. And so it should be. And so I don't know. I'm still redigesting the fact that we learned so many lessons for 24 months, and now we got to quickly unlearn them because turned out this stuff was hard. Like, it's all hard. SaaS is hard. Startups are hard. It's meant to be hard. And I'll tell you my last little bit of lack of sympathy, but like you talked about new founders being emotional, right? When I see like a founder cry, I have no sympathy. And I know someone's going to listen to this and be mad, but I mean, like, it's supposed to be hard. Like, you can cry a little bit with me. Like, Harry, you and I can cry. We can end this. We can cry a little. I don't mean that literally, but like, adult up. I mean, this stuff is hard, right? So that's what we're learning. It's hard. It's meant to be hard. You should have a terrible year. You should almost run out of money. Like, I bet if you went back in 20 VC and you interviewed and you looked in the early days, almost every top founder I knew almost ran out of money, but they didn't. They almost all had that great story, right? You get them on stage. Outside of the last 2 years, you get anyone on stage. You know, we were 3 weeks away. We had to meet 7,000 investors, and we only got one. And those stories kind of evaporated, but they're all going to come back.
Man, my personal favorite. I got an investor update the other day. It said the good. Amazing team offsite. I was like, when that is number one,
oh yeah, that's
we're
a bad
still
one.
not good. It's still not okay.